Hey there, fellow Reddit enthusiasts. If you love diving into intriguing Reddit stories, you'll want to stick around till the end. We've got a captivating one lined up for you today. For this video, we're delving into the fascinating world of relationships, so buckle up for a deep dive into some compelling stories. My F22 long-distance boyfriend, M21, cheated on me at a NYE party. Am I crazy for taking him back? Some background. I, 22F, met my boyfriend, 21M, early January of last year, 2013. That's weird to say, and we became official in April. Because we went to universities in different states, we were a long-distance couple. I graduated and took a gap year before graduate school to travel in Europe, while he finished his last year in university. The long distance has been really tough, and we had some really rough patches. We broke up for a short amount of time, but we've been pretty great for the most part. We visited each other when we could and live in the same hometown, so we saw each other during break. I'm returning to the US in a week, and after being apart for over 4 months with no visits, and being in a LDR for a year, we were finally going to be together for a long amount of time. I was planning on moving to his city and getting a job in my field until he graduates, and then we would move back to our home state before I started grad school there and he started his job. Fast forward to New Year's Eve. Aside from a bit of a conversation rut from being apart too long, we were doing well. We Skyped and had some fun to release the sexual buildup. I went to bed and he told me he would message me from his New Year's Eve party later that night. I'm 9 hours ahead. All was well. In the morning, I wake up to see no messages from him, which is weird because he promised some, but I wasn't concerned or upset. I figured he had had fun at his party and was happy he was being social. He can be a hermit at times. When he woke up, he had some kind of stomach bug and was puking his brains out. Karma is a bitch. So I spent the first part of my day trying to comfort him the best I could from so far away. A couple hours into his day, he confessed that he made out with 2 girls at the party. He said he needed to be honest with me and felt absolutely awful about his actions. This is the story he told me, which I believe. Apparently at midnight, when they were all drunk, the host, who I will call Kay, kissed him. Of course, I want to do serious damage to Kay because she knows my BF is in a relationship and has even met me. But what really broke me was that my BF kissed her back. He proceeded to make out with her until she had to go to the bathroom. While Kay was gone, her friend came up to my BF. He put his arm over her and she then kissed him. Kay returned from the bathroom and got mad that my BF was making out with another girl. When I heard that, I wanted to scream. Why the hell does she have a right to get mad when she's making out with a guy she knows is in a relationship? I don't really know what happened next, but at some point, Kay gets over it and they all start making out. I don't really know how that works, but whatever. Eventually, the other girl goes to puke or something, and it's just Kay and my BF. She leads him to her bedroom upstairs, where I guess he finally remembered me and put a stop to it, telling her he was in a relationship and loved me. So there are a million thoughts running through my head. Firstly, I'm obviously devastated that he cheated on me. However, I acknowledge that it was only kissing and he put a stop to it before it went any further. I don't accept being drunk as an excuse because he should have known better. And I have a hard time thinking that these girls just randomly kissed him. He's a really good-looking guy, and he can get flirty when he's drunk, so I can only assume he was flirting with them all night and gave them the okay to kiss him. However, I'm super grateful that he told me. I'm big on honesty, and he was incredibly honest. I've also never seen him so remorseful. We've been through quite a bit of shit together. We both have anxiety disorders and other issues. But this is the first time I've seen him this upset at himself. He was a combination of angry, embarrassed, ashamed of himself, and he completely understood if I never wanted to speak to him again. At first, I wanted to break up because I was so hurt, but the more we talked about it, the more I realized how devastated he was at his actions, and I respected him for telling me. I decided to not break up with him, but he knows that I need time to get over this. I also used to be super lenient about him hanging out with girls at parties because I didn't want to be a strict girlfriend, but that's not going to be the case anymore and he is okay with it. He had already deleted the girl from his phone and unfriended her from Facebook before. I even asked him to do it, which I thought was a good sign. I'm just worried that I'm letting myself be that pathetic girl who didn't break up with her boyfriend after he cheated on her, and/or that I'm crazy for staying with him. I'm ashamed and so sad, but hopeful that we can get through it. I pushed back my move to his city a month later, and I'm using the extra time to visit my college friends, which was a big deal but a good decision, I think. I sincerely apologize for the wall of text and for possibly not making sense. It's late in Europe and I'm really confused, but thank you for reading. It was therapeutic to write, and I appreciate any and all advice or thoughts. The classic New Year's Eve drama, where resolutions collide with reality and relationships face unexpected hurdles. Our protagonist, a globe-trotting adventurer, finds herself in a plot twist that's more tangled than a plate of spaghetti. Picture this: a transatlantic love affair, a promise of a grand reunion, and then the bombshell. The boyfriend locked lips with not one, but two partygoers. The plot thickens faster than a stew on a low simmer. Now let's give credit where it's due. The boyfriend, despite the intoxicated escapade, spilled the tea voluntarily. That's like a character in a suspense thriller confessing to the crime before the detective even arrives. Points for honesty, right? But hold on, there's a kicker. The other girl, let's call her Kay, threw a curveball by kissing him first. Classic move, Kay. Who says romance is dead? However, our leading man reciprocated, and chaos ensued, complete with a bedroom detour and a sudden realization that, oh wait, I have a girlfriend. Our heroine is caught in a whirlwind of emotions, devastation, confusion, and the ever-present dilemma of whether to cut ties or give the guy a chance. It's like a rom-com with a sprinkle of daytime soap opera drama. Yet, amidst the chaos, there's a glimmer of hope. The boyfriend, realizing the gravity of his actions, takes swift measures, deleting numbers, unfriending on social media, and wearing the heavy cloak of remorse. It's almost as if he's vying for a redemption arc in this season of relationship drama. Now, here's the kicker. The protagonist questions whether she's the pathetic girl for not pulling the plug. Fear not, dear protagonist, for relationships are like roller coasters, thrilling, unpredictable, and sometimes a loop-de-loop of emotions. As our leading lady extends her European stay, she navigates the labyrinth of emotions, discovering strength in vulnerability. Who knew a New Year's Eve kiss debacle could be the catalyst for personal growth and relationship reassessment? Our community is a treasure trove of insights, so let's take a moment to dive into the comments before we immerse ourselves in the next intriguing story. User MountainMan121. Doesn't make you pathetic. There's no guidebook that tells you what to do in these situations. And however you decide to deal with it, it's not anyone else's business. You just have to follow your gut and heart, as cliche as that sounds. Personally, I would have broken it off, but that's easy for me to say being single and having never been in a LDR. User WinPoppyOP replies, thank you. I'm big on following my gut and heart, so as cliche as it sounds, I appreciate it. My gut tells me to give him another chance, and it doesn't help that I love him like crazy. Hopefully I don't regret it. User Alvin Nguyen. Sorry that you've experienced this. I'm not in your shoes, so I can't tell what is the best for you to do. I can give my perspective of being in a 5 years LDR and being cheated though. Relationship need a huge amount of trust, but LDR requires 100x more of that as all you have is communication. If you can take a blind eye to what happened, or the person is 100% commit to repair the damage, being a completely open book, no tiny secret, allowed to be controlled for a period of time that you decided, and fully trust this person again, then by all means do it. However, if the trust is broken, the relationship will be worse than hell with all the doubt that will tear you apart when you have to question every word's coming from him. So, that's my perspective. The decision is yours. Do remember though, no matter what, you will learn from the decision you make. The journey continues. Let's smoothly transition into our next story, fueled by your enthusiasm. Hit that like button if you're ready for more tales from the Reddit universe. I think my wife cheated on me, but I have no proof. Married less than a year, both in our mid-20s. She gets concert tickets for Christmas. Naturally, I assume I'm going with her. Nope. She wants to take someone from work because he is supposedly a huge fan of the band. She also tells me he's gay. I am upset, but I decide not to start a fight about it. She goes to the concert and they wait outside near the band bus after the show is over. The bassist from the band starts to talk to her and she flirts with him. He asks if she is going to their New Year's Eve show, 200 miles away. She says no because she can't afford it. He said he'll comp her tickets if she comes. She says she won't go alone. He says she can bring her friend. Now our New Year's Eve plans are ruined because there's no way I can go too. She had joked before about having to sleep with the bassist for these tickets and VIP access. I did not find it funny, so she played it off. In the end, this is her favorite band, and I don't want her holding this over my head for the rest of our lives, so I let her make the decision herself. She decides to go with her friend from work, who she now says she's only 80% sure he's gay, WTF. She texts me on the long drive there. Then when she gets the tickets, then nothing. I text her at midnight, she gives me a 3-word response. I don't hear from her again. I call her at 11:30 the next morning, and she says she is waiting at the subway station to go back to her hotel. She eventually gets home around 4:30 p.m. I ask her how it went. She says they partied all night. She took prescription drugs and drank a lot. She said she was pissed she paid for a hotel when she only slept in it for 2 hours. I asked how that was possible when she was at the subway at 11:30 a.m. She admits that she didn't use the hotel room at all, and that she must have slept in the band suite. What? She blames her amnesia on a hangover. Fast forward a day or so. She gets out of the shower. I notice she shaved her pubes. I ask her when she did it. She says Friday. Here's the thing. My wife never shaves her pubes. When she does, it's a present for me. She left for work and I found a package of Summer's Eve feminine wipes in her overnight bag. Here's the other thing. I've always secretly thought she's had an odor problem, but she's certainly never done anything about it for me. This was a brand new pack. Why did she have them? So what do you think? Is she cheating? With the bassist or the guy from work? Should I confront her about it? Little update. I sat her down last night for a talk. I asked her to walk me through the night so I could better understand the details. They had tickets waiting at will call and were able to stand in the VIP section for the concert. The bar was open until about 2, at which point they were invited to the band suite. The hotel gave her free pajamas, so she wasn't wearing her dress when she went up there. It was a pretty large party, with the bassist, guitarist, cellist from the opening band, and the entire road crew. She said her friend from work was hovering around her all night, to the point of being annoying. She said she fell asleep on the floor of the living room, as did a dozen other people. Her coworker woke her up around 11 and they went to the subway. I asked her why she shaved. She said she doesn't know. What if I ended up going swimming? She said. Did you bring a bathing suit? I asked. No. Not to mention the fact that my wife can't swim. She'll drown in 6 feet of water with nothing to hold on to. We enjoy hot tubs, though I still wouldn't have been comfortable with her in a hot tub full of strangers. I asked her about the Summer's Eve cleansing cloths. She admitted they were for feminine odor, but said she bought them during our last Walmart shopping trip, which was the day after Christmas. If that's true, she couldn't have known she was sleeping out without me on NYE. She said she didn't even open them. When I checked the package again, I was positive it was unopened. I asked her to look me in the eyes and swear that there was no kissing, cuddling, or sexual contact of any kind. She did so, repeating those exact words. I also told her how hurt I was about the whole situation. I told her that if she has tickets to something and I want to go, she is obligated to take me no matter what. If she isn't ready to make that call, then she wasn't ready for marriage. She was very resistant and used a lot of hyperbole in the conversation. You always this, I never that. The most hurtful thing she said to me was that if I was able to go on no IE, she thinks she wouldn't have had as much fun. I told her that's a fundamental blow to our relationship that should call our marriage into question. She said I was being ridiculous. So I'm pretty much right back where I started. Still not sure if she cheated. It's possible she lied. I have no way of knowing. She's acting pretty much normal at home, as if nothing happened. Still don't know what to do. I'm going to leave this up for another day or so, then take it down so she doesn't see it. Suggestions, other than dump that lying, cheating whore, would be appreciated. Update 2, I think my wife cheated on me, but I have no proof. Last week, the bassist guy texted my wife and invited her to a concert in a city 100 miles away on a weeknight. She wanted to go by herself, and I brought up the events of New Year's Eve. She stopped talking to me and gave me the silent treatment for 3 days. I went on a business trip over the weekend and kept in touch with her every day. When I got back, we spent Valentine's Day together. Yesterday, I was on Reddit and saw that I had an orange red. I clicked on it, only to realize that my wife was still signed in on my computer. She used her account for Gone Wild, which I knew about and supported, but what I didn't expect is that she was sending photos to guys via PM. I continued reading. One guy asked, "What's the wildest thing you've ever done?" And there it was. She responded with, "On NYE, I had my first threesome with a member of a famous 90s rock band and a friend. The first thing I did was speak to a lawyer about my options. Then I confronted her about it, and she said it was only half true. She said she embellished and that her friend really is gay, and she and the bassist made out and did oral. That's when I left the apartment and headed straight for the hospital to get tested for STDs. I got back several hours later, not believing a word she said. I told her to text the guy simply, 'Did we have intercourse?' And if he says no, I'll believe her. She then admitted they did have intercourse. My whole life has been shattered. We were married for less than a year, and I invested my whole being into this 5-year relationship. I moved into the second bedroom and I'm sleeping on a futon. Our lease goes until May. The story evolves with your perspectives. In the story update, we're integrating more of your opinions. Keep those comments coming as we shape the narrative together." Continued. I think my wife cheated on me, but I have no proof. 4 men. She had an affair with 4 different men over the past 5 months. The first was a guy from work she starts sexting and sending racy pictures to back in October. Then she met a random guy at a concert and kissed him. She met up with him again when she was at a drive-in movie theater with a friend, where allegedly nothing happened except cuddling. She met up with him again when she was at a gay club with some friends, and he fucked her from behind in the bathroom. He drunk texted her a month later. They fought and broke off contact after that. One night in mid-December, I came home from work at 6 p.m., knowing that she got done at 2 p.m. for a company Christmas party. Her pet bunny was out of its cage and running around the apartment. She was nowhere to be found. Her car was in the parking lot. Her coat was on a chair. I called her phone and it rang from the couch. I called my mom in a panic. I ran around the apartment complex looking for her. I screamed her name. I even checked the goddamn dumpsters, expecting the worst. When she came home, an hour and a half later, the police were in my living room, and I was giving them her description. I held her so tightly. I was so scared that something had happened to her. I was in tears. A minute earlier, she was making out with the guy from work in his car down the street with her hand on his. If she wasn't on her period, she would have had intercourse with him. Then there's New Year's Eve. The bassist guy likes it up the ass. When my wife and her gay friend went up to his hotel room, he asked him to fuck him up the ass. He did, with my wife in the room, and then the guy told him to get lost. He then had unprotected intercourse with her, with possible vaginal insemination. She took the morning after pill and had a pregnancy scare when she was late for her period. They continued to chat via text, email, video chat after that. Finally, she had an emotional affair with a guy she met on Reddit. They flirted via text and email and made plans to meet in person and have intercourse while I was on a business trip last weekend. A friend of mine asked her if she wanted to do LSD together, and she found that to be the better option. As far as I know, she never met the guy. She continued to flirt and chat with 3 of the 4 men up until last Wednesday when I found out. I only found out about the other 2 yesterday, after I invaded her privacy and found tons of emails and chats with and about these men. I forwarded those emails to myself. I even have the t-shirt that my wife slept in, that belonged to the bassist. She actually brought it into our home. I know this doesn't count as verification, but here is a photo of the t-shirt and of my hospital bracelet from when I got screened for STDs. I could never hurt or kill myself, but believe me when I say I wish I was dead. I wouldn't wish this pain on someone I hate. I'm weak. I'm exhausted. I can't eat or sleep. I miss her so bad, but I'm repulsed by her at the same time. I told her not to even be in the same room as me until she gets tested for STDs. I told her to email her entire family and tell them everything she did. She has a very tight family, and this will likely shame her for life. I told her she needs to cut all ties with everyone and burn every bridge, including with the 2 friends she had that enabled her, if she ever wants to speak to me again. And even then, it's very likely that there's nothing to save. I feel so alone. I have friends that I've been relying on, but I can't tell if they are being supportive because they want to be and they like to have me around, or if they are simply not assholes. My confidence and self-esteem is shot. I'm doomed to be alone no matter what I do. I was already physically neglected. I am in no condition for a new relationship, and there is no way I could be intimate with this woman again. Everything I had was just ripped away. 6 months later. I think my wife cheated on me, but I have no proof. The past 7 months have had a lot of ups and downs. I'm in a much better place than I used to be, but still on the road to recovery. I go to therapy 3 times a month. I started running and working out frequently. I dropped from 245 pounds in February to 205 pounds this morning. I feel so much more in shape, and for the first time since high school, I feel good about my body. The change has caused me to have to buy all new clothes, so I'm slowly updating my wardrobe and dressing, and subsequently feeling better. I have a large pool of friends now. The friends that I spent New Year's Eve with hang out every Tuesday for trivia, and we went to the beach a few times this spring and summer. I practice with my band 3 times a week now, and our album was just released for free online. We hang out several times a week. My best friend right now is a girl I met on Reddit, unrelated to these posts. We text every day and hang out every other night, and if one of us absent for more than 2 days, we miss each other a lot. I took a trip to Puerto Rico with my mom and my aunt back in May, and it was a life-changing experience. No sightseeing or touristing. My mom grew up there and we were visiting family. I got to experience the real culture and my heritage. I currently live in a predominantly white suburb. When I came back, I was much more calm and finally had a positive outlook on life. As for my ex, the easiest, cheapest, and most painless way for us to divorce is on irreconcilable differences. For my state, that requires 18 months of living in separate residences while not having intercourse with each other. No problem there. 6 months down, 12 to go. I look forward to the day she no longer disgraces my last name. There is so much she is still lying to me about, and so much I will never know the truth about. For a while, we talked about spending time apart, and after a while, see if there was something there to save. She called me to meet with her a few months later, and after a long and deceitful amount of small talk, she told me she had given up. She no longer wanted me back. She had quit therapy, and I know for a fact she is currently dating one of the guys she cheated on me with. To be honest, good for her. She will either wake up one day and realize how much better her life could have been with me, or she'll have a better life with this guy. Either way, I never would have wanted to hold her back from a higher state of happiness. In the meantime, I never want to see her again outside of a courtroom. To cope with my deflated ego, I went through a period of sexual promiscuity. I picked up some self-help books, hit up R Seduction, and took my new body to college parties. I went on dates with old friends I hadn't seen in 5 years. I slept around with girls as old as 30 and as young as 18. To be perfectly honest, none of that made me feel any better. I thought that I wanted to feel young again and sow my wild oats. But the truth is, I just wanted to be loved. So I'm actually dating someone right now. We connect deeply on a mental and physical level, and being with her makes me feel like I can love again. She lives an hour away, which I find to be a good thing, because it keeps this from turning into a codependent relationship. I retain my independence while still having someone who cares for me and goes out with me a few times a week. Will it last? Don't know, don't care. Living in the moment has been one of my coping mechanisms this year, so long as I live responsibly. When I'm with her, I'm happy, and that's all I care about. So this is getting long, but I wanted to thank all of the supportive commenters on Reddit. Many of you offered good advice that I took to heart, and some of you even reached out to me on Facebook. I may have been slightly jaded at the time, but the show of compassion and empathy from strangers has been truly heartwarming. I like the new me, and I hope to be better for the experience. First, we have the wife, armed with concert tickets and a penchant for surprises. But, alas, the surprise isn't a romantic date night with her husband, it's a rendezvous with a coworker who may or may not be the biggest fan of the band, or, for that matter, the very definition of gay. The plot thickens faster than her explanation. Enter the bassist, a rock star, a charmer, and the catalyst for our protagonist's New Year's Eve meltdown. As the wife dances between flirtation and amnesia, our poor protagonist is left playing detective, armed with pubic hair revelations and a suspicious pack of feminine wipes. Now, let's not forget the summer's eve of it all, a grooming session that raises more questions than a Sherlock Holmes novel. Did she just stumble upon a spontaneous need for hygiene? Or was there more backstage action than at the actual concert? But wait, there's more. A husband, confused, betrayed, and contemplating whether his marriage is more Shakespearean tragedy or Greek epic. He embarks on a journey that involves lawyers, gone wild revelations, and a t-shirt as a silent witness to the unfolding drama. Yet, amid the chaos, our protagonist finds strength, a phoenix rising from the ashes of a marriage, shedding pounds and embracing newfound friendships. He embarks on a quest for self-love, armed with resilience and the realization that sometimes life hands you lemons, and well, you make a damn good lemonade. Before we unravel the next chapter, let's take a pit stop at the community comments. Your thoughts and reactions are the heartbeat of our discussions. User Andu. It may mean nothing to you, but I still have a burning, passionate hate for that band, and every time their stupid ass shit lingers on any media. You had imprinted an image in my head that will never cease to exist. I know we should take the high road and not bash the bassist, but man, I have not forgotten this story, nor will I anytime soon. Glad to hear you are doing better. User throwaway 142012OP replies, yeah, according to Wikipedia, that guy is no longer touring with the band. He's listed as a former touring member, meaning he never even recorded with them. There's nothing wrong with that band's music in general, although I still can't listen to it. That's how I know I'm not completely healed. User conflict throwaway. This is really great to hear. Congratulations on making positive changes and getting to a better place. Would you say that sleeping around helped you to realize its ineffectiveness and thus made you more appreciative of the real thing? Or was it just a testosterone-fueled shit show of emptiness? I'm debating embarking on the same thing and don't know if I should be focusing on the journey or destination. We've had some fantastic insights in the comments, and now it's time to move on to our next captivating story. Get ready for another roller coaster of emotions. I, 23, gained 70 pounds and ruined my relationship. Is it okay to ask my girlfriend, 23, to stop making mean comments about it? I just want to start by saying I don't blame her at all. She is a great girl, and I pushed our relationship to breaking point by gaining so much weight that I am no longer attractive. It's all entirely my fault, so I'm not angry with her. It's just that the frequency and increasing nastiness of her comments are starting to get to me a little. Maybe I don't have a right to feel this way. I don't know. I gained almost 70 pounds in our 2-year relationship, mostly due to depression, drinking, and letting up on my previous strict diet. When we started dating, I was fit but a bit chunky at about 190 at 5'11". I had just lost about 40 pounds. I gained that back plus about 25 lbs more during our relationship, and I got to 258 lbs at 5'11" at my biggest. I have now lost 7 lbs on a diet. I'm disgusting. I can't even look at myself. She brought it up after I had gained about 20 lbs. And then the comments got more frequent, and now she makes probably 3+ comments, just insults a day about my weight. Here are some example things she has done or said. I know these may seem bad, but I'm not trying to demonize her. She is great otherwise. She refers to me as her morbidly obese boyfriend, to her friends and anyone else behind my back. I am morbidly obese, I think, so she's not wrong, but it's very embarrassing. I guess I deserve it though. We had an argument, rare, where she called me a disgusting fat pig and said she was counting down the days until I died of obesity. She apologized for that one, and we had a good talk about things after. But she soon went back to the comments. She buys me clothes that are too small. She says it's not on purpose, but I think it is. And then says something like, wow, I can't believe you've grown out of that already. One time she made me come with her to the shop to return a pair of jeans and swap for a bigger size. She made a massive fuss about it with the employees and basically just humiliated me in front of everyone in the store. She said she would only have intercourse with me if I lost at least 70 pounds. She says she can't help but find fat extremely unattractive. I do understand that, and it's okay to have preferences. I'm doing my best to reach that goal, and I want to lose even more than that. She calls me greedy and says I have no self-control. She isn't wrong, but she will make me food then if I eat it all say that I have no self-control. I never eat the full amount anymore, so I guess that tactic worked. If she makes me food, I'll only eat like a quarter of it so she doesn't say anything. I get anxiety whenever I eat in front of people now. I get like sweaty palms and think everyone is looking at me. I went out for Christmas dinner with my friends and only ended up eating a few bites because I was so anxious. I know that's a good thing and I should be thanking her for that, but I don't want that anxiety to stay even when I lose weight. This isn't her fault though, obviously. She is not responsible for my anxiety. She tries to control everything I eat. I am on a diet and have lost 7 lbs in the last 2 weeks. Not much I know, but I am going to start a water fast at the start of the new year. She didn't force me to do that, but I hate myself to the point where I would rather be dead than live in this body any longer. So I want to lose weight as quick as I possibly can. I know it's not her fault at all. I ruined the relationship when I gained weight, not her. Her reaction is understandable. She doesn't want a fat boyfriend. It must have been frustrating to watch me gain all that weight. I feel terrible for what I've done to her. She always says how much happier I will be if I lose weight, and I know she's right. It's just I can't help but feel hurt and almost afraid of her sometimes. Not like actually afraid, just like afraid that I am physically repulsing her. I unconsciously suck in my stomach whenever I'm around her now. Sometimes she treats me like I'm the most disgusting thing she's ever seen. I agree that I am physically repulsive, but I can't help but be hurt sometimes. Should I just accept it? That's what I have been doing so far. Keep those keyboards active. In the story update, we're incorporating more of your opinions. It's like crafting a story together, and your input is invaluable. Update. I 24M gained 70 pounds and ruined my relationship. Is it okay to ask my girlfriend 23F to stop making mean comments about it? I thought I deserved to be abused for gaining weight. I still kind of believe that, but I think most people treat their partners with kindness. I never want anyone to feel the way I did due to their partner. Also, the high stress anxiety levels I felt constantly are pretty terrible for losing weight. I had convinced myself that I was disgusting and undeserving of love, and she was just trying to help. But I now realize she probably wasn't even trying to help me at all. It's hard to think that of her, because I love her a lot still, despite her faults. I realized there were a lot of things in our relationship that I was uncomfortable with, that I felt like I could never bring up, because she would get upset and start crying, so I would end up comforting her. Or she would just turn it on me and get angry and blame me. Things always had to go her way or she would start crying. My girlfriend was entirely dependent on me for money, and I paid for literally 95% of things. She never wanted to get a job because I paid for her. I was okay with this because I loved her and felt like I had to prove myself to be worthy of her. I paid all the rent and bills. 2 days ago, NYE. I was in our bedroom on my phone when I got a text. It was from an unknown number calling me a fat fuck, and something about how I didn't deserve my girlfriend. This wasn't too unusual. I have been receiving abusive texts from several different random numbers for months, mostly about my weight, but also about all sorts of things. I had several ideas of who it could be, and it was honestly eating me up inside. It was giving me extreme anxiety, because they seemed to know so much about me. A few hours later, on a whim, I decided to call the number. I have done this before, but it never got answered. I even spoofed my phone number and still nothing. You can probably see where this is going. Vibration came from my girlfriend's bag in the cupboard. I guess she forgot to put it on silent. It was like the biggest sinking feeling I have ever felt. She had purchased a burner phone specifically for texting me abuse. She took time out of her day just to put me down anonymously and wear me down further. She wanted me to be hurt and not trust anyone around me. I truly never thought she was responsible for them. The thought had come into my head a couple times, but I immediately pushed it out. I didn't believe she was capable of something like that. She was always sympathetic when I got the texts and was trying to help me find out who sent them. It hurt so badly. I could almost forgive everything else, but everyone has a breaking point. I just feel completely worthless. How disgusting must I be if my own girlfriend wants to say these things to me? Why would she do this? I don't understand. I guess she wanted me to be under her control and even more dependent on her emotionally. I'm trying to get out of the mindset that I deserve this. I knew I had to end it, and I had to do it before she would make me change my mind. I gathered all her stuff up and put it into bags. I was getting extremely upset while doing it and almost stopped, but I was also angry. I don't really get angry, and I previously just accepted her treatment, but something in me just snapped. I was actually mad at her for once. She was at her friend's house preparing to go out for NYE. I did feel guilty for ruining her night, but she had already ruined mine. I wanted to try and leave her in 2019 and start the new year without her. I had to do it right then before I thought about it too much and forgave her like I did for everything else she has done. I called a locksmith to come and change the locks. I knew she would have an extreme reaction to being broken up with by her obese boyfriend who doesn't deserve her, no matter the circumstances anyway, so I just had to do it. I texted her, "I found your other phone. I love you," her name, "but I can't put up with this shit anymore. All your stuff is in bags in the hall. Please come by and collect it tomorrow. I changed the locks, so you will have to let me know when you're coming beforehand. Happy New Year." Yes, saying Happy New Year was a bit petty. To say she didn't respond well to this would be an understatement. She called me crying, telling me she was sorry and would stop. She told me she was just trying to help me and that she was doing it out of love. She told me she loved me more than anything and she was so sorry. I almost believed her, but I didn't give in. I apologized to her and hung up. She called me back 2 minutes later, angry and screaming. How could I dare do this to her? Called me a fat, disgusting piece of shit and said she never loved me. She screamed that she never wanted me and that no one ever will. She screamed that even my own family didn't care about me. This hurt because my mom was an abusive drug addict and my dad left when I was 10 and I haven't seen him since. She said that whenever we had intercourse, she was thinking about her ex and praying for it to be over. I guess she was just trying to say anything that would hurt me. I blocked her number. She called me back again on her friend's phone, screaming how dare could I block her, and how dare I could leave her with no place to stay on NYE. I didn't do that. I would never leave her without a place to sleep. She could go to her parents and she has plenty money that I gave her, so she could get a taxi and stay in a hotel if she preferred. She also said beforehand that she was staying at her friend's that night anyway. She posted on her Instagram story that she was heartbroken and that her boyfriend had left her homeless on NYE due to a little misunderstanding. After everything he put me through, he still does this. I loved him and thought he loved me, but I guess I was wrong. I then received messages from her friends telling me I'm a horrible person and she deserves so much better than me. Her mother, in person, called me saying she was calling the police on me and that I was abusive. She also brought up my weight and said that it was laughable that I would break up with her looking the way I do, and I would never get anyone better. All of this was stressing me out to the extreme. I hate confrontation in any form, and I think I was just constantly shaking the whole evening. My girlfriend's friend ended up calling me on a different number and said that she and her boyfriend weren't comfortable letting my girlfriend stay over at their house anymore. They were freaked out due to my GF screaming abuse at me on the phone, and she was apparently screaming at them as well and saying she was going to kill me. All her other friends at the house were freaked out too, and she was effectively uninvited from their NYE night, and they were trying to find a way to get her to leave. She was telling them that she had no money and no way of getting to her parents. This was just a straight-up lie. I had given her $500 several days ago. I sent her an extra $100 out of guilt anyway. I don't know where she went for a few hours, but she came back to my house around 2 a.m. and started trying to kick the door in and picked up a rock and tried to smash the window. It broke the window but didn't smash all the way through. She was screaming and crying through the letterbox. I ended up caving and letting her in once she calmed down somewhat, as my brother was there with me to back me up. She was drunk and tried to attack me, but I held her back. Eventually, she just started crying. I felt really bad for her at this point and was almost ready to let her stay just for the night, but thankfully, my brother ended up getting a taxi with her to take her to a hotel for the night. I felt really terrible the next day. I loved her, and we spent 2 years together. I keep wondering if she's right, that I will never find anyone again. I can't see why anyone would want me. I also feel really guilty for what I did, and I was probably too harsh on her to just kick her out like that. Her mother came to collect her stuff yesterday and started screaming at me, saying that I ruined her daughter's life, etc., etc. I feel really bad. I hope she's okay, and I want her to get help and realize why she treats people the way she does. I know I wasn't the first. I brushed off so many stories about her and just ignored all the signs. With the weight loss, I'm currently continuing my diet instead of water fasting like I planned. I want to try and do a sustainable diet instead of just starving myself for a month and probably gaining it back. I want to try a 7-day water fast to detox though. I also need to stop relying on alcohol to relax in the evening. It was a big reason I gained the weight. I realized I have been consuming at least 600 calories a day in alcohol alone, 3 pints of beer. I definitely used it to cope with stress, and I need to develop better coping mechanisms. I'm going to lose all the weight in 2020, and I'm also going to get into therapy so I can sort my head out. There are so many unhealthy thoughts I have, and I don't think hating yourself as much as I do is normal. I feel sad but strangely relieved and like I can actually make changes in my life without her. First of all, let me just say that gaining or losing weight doesn't determine your worth. It's your heart, mind, and how many dad jokes you can tell that truly count. Now, on to the dramatic saga of your relationship roller coaster. Firstly, gaining 70 pounds is like gaining an extra human. That's some dedication right there. Forget weightlifting, you've been weight gaining. But hey, You're on a diet now, so good for you. It's like the breakup diet, except without the broken hearts and more actual weight loss. Now, about your now ex-girlfriend, calling you a morbidly obese boyfriend behind your back. That's a creative way to keep things spicy in the relationship. But seriously, if she's giving you clothes that don't fit, she's just playing the let's humiliate my boyfriend game. Not cool. It's like a weird episode of a reality show you never signed up for. And the burner phone for anonymous abuse? That's some next level commitment to pettiness. I mean, who even has the time to buy a burner phone to send mean texts? Maybe she should consider a career in creative writing. Or therapy. Yeah, probably therapy. Ending the relationship was a bold move. Changing the locks on New Year's Eve? That's like breaking up with someone and sending a happy Independence Day card. Timing is everything. But kudos to you for sticking to your guns, even if she was literally trying to break down your door. Remember, the best revenge is living your best life, and it sounds like you're on the right track. So chin up, shoulders back, and let the new year be the year you become the superhero of your own story. And hey, maybe you'll find someone who loves you for your charm, dad jokes, and not for the number on the scale. Before we continue our adventure, let's tap into the wealth of opinions in the community comments. Your perspectives are like puzzle pieces that complete the story. User Queen Moogle. Well, she sure sounds like a fucking sociopath. I am very, very glad you ejected her from your life. Good goddamn riddance. I think therapy is a great idea. Not only do you have pre-existing anxiety issues and such, but no doubt this entire relationship wreaked some kind of havoc on your brain. This is some traumatic stuff. I hope you find a doctor you like and don't give up if it takes a few tries. I'm really proud of you, OP. You took your own life into your own hands and took out the trash. User Rescue ME2. Here's what I suggest. During your journey to weight loss, also invest in a solo trip somewhere for at least a week, whether it's backpacking, hot destination, or some other outlet where you're alone. The reason for this is it will help you mentally detox from this horrendous situation. You've developed incredible mental strength, and now it's about leveraging it to continue to invest in yourself. The hard part is over. Now focus on yourself. You will find what you need. User 03XOXO05. My girlfriend met me at 5'7", at only 140 lbs. Today, I am 8.5, but a whopping 210 lbs. Don't get me wrong, I got a good bulky base, but I could def lose some fucking weight. Never. Not once. Has she ever made one comment about it? Just think about that one, bro. I'm shorter, but we are close in weight. That means I am fatter than you, but I was treated better. You deserve better. Your enthusiasm fuels the journey. Now let's seamlessly transition into our next story. Get comfortable, because things are about to get interesting. My husband ruins every single New Year's Eve. He told me he loved me for the first time on NYE at a big party, so it's always held a special significance for me. For the first few years, I was able to get him to come to a party. For a few years, we watched my favorite cousin's kids while she worked as a bartender. But they're grown up now, and hanging out with us just isn't as cool as it used to be, LOL. He's got pretty bad anxiety, and big packed crowds are super stressful for him. I, on the other hand, love that on big events like NYE or Pride, where everyone is like-minded and there's a wonderful feeling of camaraderie. But I'm fine with small gatherings too. We got married in 2017, and I guess he decided he didn't have to try anymore. He actually finally cried when I insisted we go to a good friend's house party that New Year's Eve. I felt like an ass for making him cry and had a firm talk with myself, and realized that rather than a lifelong party date, I was actually going to be going to parties by myself for the rest of my life, and made my peace with that. I had to decide whether to not be with my husband and get my midnight kiss, or go and have fun and ring in the new year at the top of my lungs like I love to do. I went to the party. Subsequently, he's managed to ruin every NYE at least since we got married. I regretted upsetting him, NYE 2017-18, but waiting until I was all made up and ready to leave to tell me he didn't want to go anywhere ruined my NYE. This year, we didn't even make plans because COVID, and didn't even really mark the holiday, but I expected my midnight kiss at least. This MFKR, 15 minutes before midnight, stomped off to bed because I shouted at our dogs for barking and he was watching TV. That's the excuse he used anyway. Is this the shit people get divorced over? I just feel like this is something I'll look back on and be like, I should have left then. But then, it seems like such a petty thing. We get along fine, but for stuff like this, but FK, I feel like he doesn't even like me sometimes. He's always sighing because I did something wrong. Didn't wash the dishes after dinner. The house is messy. I left the toothpaste out again, etc. I have ADHD. He's never been able to tell me why or what he loves about me. You're a good person out of him once. Whoop-de-doo. I have empathy, so what? But I look at people who have real problems like abuse or infidelity. Steve Wilkos really puts things in perspective, because I've never had to wonder if he's a pedo or a thief. He's not mean to me, but he's not nice to me either. But leaving someone is hard. The NYE dilemma, the yearly struggle between party animal and homebody. It's like choosing between dancing with strangers in glittery outfits or cozying up on the couch with a blanket burrito. A conundrum indeed. Your husband seems to have declared a personal war against New Year's Eve festivities. I mean, stomping off to bed 15 minutes before midnight? That's a move even the Grinch would side-eye. Maybe he's secretly auditioning for the role of the NYE Scrooge. And the midnight kiss? A sacred tradition. That's the moment when you're supposed to brush away the chaos of the year and start anew. Instead, it sounds like he's treating it as an excuse to hit the hay early. Perhaps he's a firm believer in the saying, "New year, new bedtime." Now, the real question. Is this the stuff divorces are made of? Well, it's not exactly irreconcilable differences, the sequel, but it's like having a persistent pebble in your shoe. Small, but irritating over time. Not everyone wants to go full Steve Wilkos, but hey, maybe the man needs an intervention. My strange addiction, avoiding NYE celebrations. On a serious note, relationships are a complex dance of compromise and understanding. It's like a tango, but with fewer roses and more debates about party attendance. If his constant sighs are reaching operatic levels, it might be worth a deeper conversation about what's really going on. Before we dive into the next story, let's take a moment to check out what you, our incredible audience, are saying in the comments. Your opinions truly matter. User Littlebit. Reading your post, you don't want to leave him because he makes Nye unhappy. You have already said he makes you unhappy on the whole. He's not nice to me either. How many lives you think you're gonna get? Do you want to look back with regret or pride on the decisions you made? Looking back with regret destroys a person. Leaving is very hard. Took me years to do it. But I did it, and my life took a turn and brought me places I could never have imagined. You have no idea the happiness and potential you are missing out on because you're settling for someone who isn't mean, but isn't nice either. I think you should sit down and really imagine your future with him in it and without. Which makes you happy? Which one fills you with hope? Good luck, X. User Black Saisage. Intentionally sabotaging holidays and important events is an abuse tactic. Also, Reddit likes to use "just communicate" as a thought-terminating cliche, and honestly, ignore it. You can't communicate someone's toxicity away. Sometimes people are just shitty and you flat out deserve better. If you don't want a divorce, there's always marriage counseling. User KGXV. You openly admit to knowing he gets bad anxiety with crowds, and you're now complaining because you've tried and failed to force him into situations that make him anxious and think he's in the wrong for that? Ready for the next adventure? Let's jump into our last story. And don't forget to hit that like button if you're as excited as I am to explore what comes next. My 27F partner, 27M, of 3.5 years, confessed to cheating on me at a bachelor party. So let me get right into it. I've been dating my partner for 3.5 years, but we've been friends for about 3 years before that. He had always had a thing for me and waited around for our timing to line up. We moved in together a year and a half ago when I started my PhD program, and we had a seemingly healthy, open, if somewhat imperfect, relationship. I always felt loved by him, and even though he can be impatient and struggles with pretty significant ADHD, I never doubted for a second how much he loved and was devoted to me. This NYE at 3 a.m. after we got home from a night out. As we were watching something, he very abruptly tells me he needs to confess something to me. He then confessed to cheating with me at a bachelor party he went to in Costa Rica last June. I was so shocked I felt like the rug had been pulled out from under me. It turns out she was one of the intercourse workers who was working the club they got a table at, and at the end of the night, she propositioned him and he impulsively said yes after drinking, doing coke, and staying out all night for 3 days along with that toxic male peer pressure. He says they used a condom, she had a license, meaning she had to get tested every 2 weeks, and he got tested there. And as soon as he got back to the States, I made him print his records and get tested again. I've basically been dissociated ever since. I feel numb. Part of me is glad he eventually did tell me, but I'm more upset about the 6 months he kept it from me. We signed a 2-year lease in that time. I spent the holidays with his family away from mine. He comforted me 4 months ago when we found out my dad was on a date with another woman. I'm just disgusted by the misogyny of it all and feel like my trust has been betrayed and violated. I am pretty liberal sexually, and though we don't have an open relationship, he knows I question the concept of monogamy, and we've talked about threesomes, etc. But of course, these require respect and communication and maturity, all of which this doesn't show. I've also been going through a significantly hard time in my PhD program, and feel particularly betrayed by the timing as well as have been having the cliche, "I drove him to do this" thoughts, as I have never been more stressed and unhinged in my life. He assured me it's been eating him alive, and he told me because he wanted to be held accountable. This is the only instance of cheating in his past. Lucky me. And he assures me the whole experience put him off and he will never do anything like this again. He is currently in therapy, as am I. I also am a therapist, and reports he will do whatever he has to in order to make it work. I've been struggling whether or not a one-time transgression is worth throwing away an otherwise great relationship out for, particularly when we're already so entangled. There's a lot of other details. I'm not sure what's pertinent or what's just extra noise in my head. By any insight would be great. And please know once a cheater, always a cheater posts. This isn't a black and white issue, and I hate posts that oversimplify the just leave him. I don't think cheating is always the end-all be-all, and I'm looking for a well-rounded dialogue. There are a lot of supporting details I could provide about our relationship, the infidelity, and everything that has happened since. Please don't fill in the gaps I haven't provided. I haven't forgiven him or taken him back. He currently is staying with a friend, and I have made it clear we are indefinitely not together until I figure out what I want to next steps, and he has agreed. I'm disgusted by what he did, and am not trying to excuse it. I was just hoping to have conversations that were more emotionally intelligent than the typical bye forever comments. I appreciate the thoughtful questions and sharing of personal experiences. He paid for the encounter, $600. Pretty sure he also got ripped off because he was a drunk white dude. As far as his why, I have gotten a mixed bag of answers from him. The reasons I stated above aren't meant to be excuses, just environmental factors present. And he is in no way leaning on these as justification. He told me he is exploring this in his own therapy, but he was feeling poorly about himself and his worth prior to this event. Now, I've felt plenty badly about myself and have never cheated. But it's hard because my big picture empathic therapist brain sees all sides constantly, which has been confusing for me as I'm processing this myself. Just trying to give y'all the details I myself am working with. Some of the things matter to some people and some don't. Firstly, let's acknowledge that $600 for an encounter might be the most expensive mistake since that time he thought Bitcoin was a bad investment. I mean, talk about a financial faux pas. I hope they at least threw in a complimentary coconut drink. Now, onto the real drama. The confession after 6 months is like opening a bag of chips, realizing it's mostly air, and then discovering someone secretly refilled it with remorse. And a 2-year lease? Seriously? It's like signing up for a Netflix subscription, but only getting documentaries on betrayal. As a therapist, you're probably navigating this emotional roller coaster with the poise of a tightrope walker in a hurricane. The timing, the stress, the entanglements. It's like trying to organize a circus while juggling flaming swords. And let's not forget the classic I drove him to this soundtrack playing in your head. Stressful HD program, the chaos of life, and voila, infidelity. It's like blaming a car crash on the GPS. Turn left for poor life choices. But hey, at least he's in therapy, which is like putting a band-aid on a sinking ship, but, you know, it's something. Exploring self-worth issues. The old, let's cheat to feel better about ourselves strategy. Freud would be both impressed and confused. Now the big question, is a one-time transgression worth salvaging a relationship? It's like deciding if you should keep a cake with one bite taken out. Maybe if the flavor is exceptional, but in this case, it tastes more like regret and bad decisions. Jokes aside, relationships are complex, and there's no one-size-fits-all solution. Your emotional intelligence is your superpower in this saga, and whether you choose to continue this journey or part ways, remember that your worth isn't defined by someone else's actions. Here's to navigating the emotional maze with grace, humor, and the wisdom to know when to close the curtains on this particular chapter. Now, let's shift our focus to the comments section and see what our fantastic community has to say about this. Your insights always add an extra layer to the conversation. User Kylie's 2. How much of a deal breaker is this to you? I thought cheating would be the end-all be-all of a relationship for me, until I was cheated on. In this case, I believed the person really loved me, and that he had just made a silly, impulsive mistake that he regretted. He proved time and time again how much he loved me, and I believed it most of the time. But some days I would just remember what he had done, and I would feel utter disgust and shame for taking him back at the same time. These bursts of anger kept coming up, and ultimately I realized that I never really forgave him. Having a partner be unfaithful is one of the shittiest things that could happen to anyone. After 2 years of having decided to stay after he cheated, I realized I could not live like that. I was angry and resentful, and I didn't want to be miserable any longer. I finally decided to leave, and even though it was hard, I think everything played out for the best. User Nerd and Knit, did he explore why he told you at the time that he did? I know he said the guilt was eating him alive, but does he not feel even more guilty now? He has hurt you once by doing it, and again by telling you 6 months after the fact. Infidelity is not black and white like you said, but it is something that you have to make a decision on. A societal boundary has been crossed. You now need to decide if this is also a personal boundary. And from then, you need to decide if you are willing to accept this potentially for the rest of your life. User S3XVP3AC3OP replies, he shared that once he knew he had to tell me he had the added burden of being like, oh shit, and now I've waited so it'll be worse. He said he wanted to wait until after the holidays, and I guess once the clock struck midnight, that wasn't holding him back anymore. We had also been drinking a bit as it was NYE, so I guess he had some liquid courage as well. I was sketched out at first that something had happened, like he was in danger of being exposed and he told me to get ahead of it. But that wasn't the case, just weird timing. What a way to ring in the new decade. As we wrap up this Reddit story, if you enjoyed the video, don't forget to give it a thumbs up and consider subscribing for more captivating Reddit stories. Your support means the world to me. I enjoy, and I can't wait to see you in the next video.